Joining us now, the authority, a guru, if you will, a maestro, a savant on training and preparing offensive linemen for the NFL draft from OL Masterminds. He is the mind of OL Mastermind. It's Big Duke, Conrad Company's best friend, Duke Manyweather, is here. Hey, Duke.
Hey, Kay, how we doing?
Good. It's good to see you. Listen, we're talking quarterbacks, like these running backs, these wide receivers, whatever. You don't do squat if you don't have it figured out in the trenches. So I'm excited to talk to you about this, especially in this draft, because you're the guy when it comes to prepping them, training the offensive linemen, getting them set for the process until they get drafted. There's a lot of trainers out there, a lot of places to go. What sets yours apart?
Really what sets us apart now at O-Line Masterminds, in conjunction with Sports Academy at the Star, is that we take a holistic approach from the ground up with getting these guys in and prepared. And what we call our program isn't so much pre-draft training, we call it rookie transition, because what we really do is we start not assuming anything. So these guys come from all different kind of programs, and we bring them in really to the fold and kind of teach them how to be professionals. Our program isn't easy. It's all day. Our first group starts at 6 a.m. and these guys are doing something every 90 minutes. But we attacked mind, body, and craft in terms of the preparation. So we've got, of course, our strength and conditioning component, and then we've got the speed and agility component for the combine training. And then we've got the mental part where we're watching film and X's and O's. And it all starts with the film, really, because what we are trying to do is really check the box of the evaluation period with them realizing their potential, but then we also want to make them better offensive linemen. So the way we do that are those three facets, mind, body, and craft. And again, it's an all-in program. It's at the bare minimum 8 weeks, and guys are committed. They understand that on the other side of the hard work is everything that they've dreamed about, and it starts with the preparation.
I mean, it sounds like training for the U.S. Marines or something in every way.
We still have fun.
I got to ask you, when I go there, let's say I'm a big boy, I'm an offensive lineman, or I come visit and I say, Duke, put me through it. What part am I crying at? Where am I? Where in the process of those 90? What is the toughest drill, toughest moment, mind, body, soul for me?
To be honest with you, most people's first shock is our dynamic warm-up. A lot of guys, when they get the warm-up, is what stuns people the most. And what the warm-up allows us to do is kind of, not only does it get guys warmed up and prepared and prepped, we like to say motion is lotion when it comes to any type of O-line movements or weight room movements. But what ends up happening is it allows us to have a daily kind of checklist and a daily evaluation to see how these guys are moving. So I have a plan every single day in terms of what we want to get accomplished for the weight room, what we want to get accomplished for, the field work. But if a guy isn't moving efficiently, if a guy looks a little tight and doesn't have the mobility and stability, then we need to scrap that, go to more functional mobility, more corrective exercise. So our dynamic warm-up is tough. And I think a lot of people, that first day, it sends them through a world of shock.
Wow. I can't imagine the food. You're smiling. I can't imagine the food budget at a program like this. And I would like to know, what are the calories consumed in a single day? I know everybody's different, has different goals, losing, gaining. But given the intensity, I mean, that's a pretty penny for you with that food bill, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. When that comes through, our registered dietitian, Lindsay, does a great job with our performance nutrition and supplementation. But it's costing probably $1,000 a week for these guys to eat. We try to make sure, like, we've got a company, it's called Prep Kitchen, but we try to make sure that they're getting high quality sources. So depending on what the goal is, if guys are maintaining and maintenance, we start actually with, we do a DEXA scan and a resting metabolic rate.
Wow.
That way we kind of know what guys are burning and kind of what their composition is. And we look at goal weights. So based upon that, Lindsay and myself and the player comes up with a fuel plan to make sure that they're at their leanest and optimal state. So we've seen guys that are around 4,500 calories, and then we've seen guys that are around 6,500 calories. It really depends on where they're at. It is. We've even had a guy that is close to 7,000 calories because he burns so much. And again, we look at even when you have guys that need to lose weight and guys that gain weight, in terms of, caloric dense foods for those hard gainers, and then maybe more fats and frequent meals for those guys it's hard to lose.
You work with the top guys. You've worked with 8 of the top 22 prospects in this 2024 NFL draft, which is amazing. You've scouted a ton more even than that. Paint the picture, and talk to me about some of these guys that you've worked with, of course. And I know that you have a relationship with Joe Alt. You know him. I sort of want to ask you about him. Everybody's saying he's the top offensive lineman on draft boards. Outside of, what can you say about him? He's gaining comparisons. Like Hamilton was just texting me during the break to Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace. Like that's generational, Duke.
Yeah, you know what? I talked to a GM last night, and we were both in agreement. When it comes to Joe, there isn't much of a projection that needs to be done. You know exactly what he's going to be. He's so efficient with his movement. He's a dynamic run blocker, and then is very skilled and craftful in terms of his pass protection. So you kind of just see him as a guy that will plug in immediately and start to come into his own. And I still think that his best football is ahead of him. But the projection, you're not projecting what he could be. And, he's not just potential that hasn't gone unrealized. You know exactly what you're getting when you draft Joe Alt.
Well, you're the authority on offensive linemen, so I thought we could have a little fun and play a little rapid-fire game. We're going to call it Line 'em Up. I'm going to give you a trait or an attribute, and you tell me which offensive lineman in the draft best fits this, okay?
Okay.
Best pass protection.
Oh, okay. Best pass protector. Actually, one of my guys, I think Olu Fashanu out of Penn State is probably the best pass protector in the draft. But then Joe Alt is also a really, really good pass protector as well. But those two guys probably the best pass protectors.
Best run blocker.
Best run blocker. Ooh, I would have to go with Fuaga out of Oregon State. And then one of my guys, Zach Frazier. I think Zach Frazier had around 147 knockdown blocks. So, I think Zach Frazier is one of those guys. He can make every block from the center position, and he's just a brick house. I mean, you look at him and what he did in his wrestling background, he's pretty special.
Most likely to lead the NFL in pancakes.
Ooh, again, I think maybe Zach Frazier.
Nice.
I think Zach Frazier is one of those guys.
Potential steal of the draft.
Ooh, there's a lot of really small school guys that I think could be a steal of the draft. I think Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State is a guy that could be a steal of the draft.
What about who has the skill? Who can catch a touchdown pass?
Based upon what I've seen, I would have to go maybe Jackson Power Johnson. He seems pretty athletic. He's played up and down the field. I think that Jackson Power Johnson would probably be a guy that could catch a touchdown.
He's amazing. Got him on our show, met him. Can't wait to see that. What is the one trait that you would say, if you're speaking to this group of prospects, the one trait that you've seen through the years, not even physically, up here, that makes you a great, puts you in line to be Jason Kelce someday? What is that?
The mental resilience. It's we hear so much about mental toughness and what that means. And really the mental toughness and the resilience and the grit is being able to do the small things and the large things consistently, even when situations aren't ideal. And I think that the guys that make it and really excel, they've got it right here in that regard. The grit, the control, the story that they tell themselves is really that mental makeup is what makes the difference with the guys that make it and really excel and realize their potential.
We have like a minute left, but I got to ask you about this. Recently retired Jason Kelce. A guy Cam Jurgens, taken over his spot. Cam said this week he's not trying to replace Kelce, just trying to be his best. He's moving from guard to center. How difficult is that change, and what gives you confidence he can do it?
Well, what really gives me confidence that Cam can do that is that he was an exceptional center at Nebraska. The only thing here is he was drafted by a team that had a Hall of Fame center. So I think that this OTAs and even training camp, it's really just going to be like riding a bike for Cam to integrate back in to the center position. And Cam is 100% right. He's not trying to replace Jason Kelce. All right. It's not so much about fitting into those shoes. It's about adding in the mold that you can bring. So Cam is still going to bring some of that tough grittiness. He's really good on the move.
Okay.
I can remember a play versus Oklahoma where he was able to get out in space and finish a guy 20 yards down the field. So those traits there's some similarities there between him and Jason Kelce.
Can he keep the tush push alive?
I think he can.
That's all I wanted to know. Hey, I'm so excited for you. This must be so fun to watch the fruit of your labor sort of start their next level. Congrats on everything, and thank you for everything that you do for these young players, guys. OL Masterminds, Duke Manyweather is the man. We appreciate you.
We'll see you down at Masterminds this summer.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to throw up in that drill. Bye.